Hello, once again. Welcome back to Academy Online. My name is Bella, and I am the director of Our Global Placements. So, Academy Online is a subdivision of Our Global Placements where we help candidates excel in their interviews. So, over the last couple of videos, we have spoken about just different questions that you can expect in interviews and how to best tackle those, but today I thought it'd be important for us to talk about preparing for interviews. Now, if you are new here, I would suggest that you make this your home, because I tell you, you're gonna need it in this very saturated industry where there's so much competition. You need to make sure that you always stand out as you interact with potential employers, as you network in your industry. You need to leave people wondering, who is this person? I'd love to have this person on my team, or something along those lines. So I've got a few points lined up for us today. As you prepare to meet your potential employer, you would probably have had, if you are dealing with an agency, you would have had an interview with an agent already at this point. So I feel this basically aligns with the actual interview that you're having with the potential client, not necessarily with the agent. It is slightly different, but I still believe that the same amount of preparation needs to go in both for both interviews. So what I'm going to be talking about mainly today is basically when you have reached a point where you have been shortlisted for a position and the potential employer now wants to meet with you and get to know more about you. Some companies will have maybe like an intro chat in the beginning, which generally is a little bit more informal, where they get to learn a bit more about you and what you're all about, and maybe even assess the culture fit in terms of what they're looking for. And then there is a bit more, obviously, if all goes well, you then will get invited to another interview which is a little bit more formal, where they will get to learn more about your skills and check alignment, if what you're looking for aligns with what they're offering at the end of the day. Now, one of the most important parts of preparing for interviews is to obviously do research on the company. This goes without saying, I have actually been disappointed many times, by some candidates that I would have interviewed, and then you ask them, if they know anything about your client, which I guess I would have disclosed at that point. I do understand things get busy, but sometimes I feel to show that you are interested, you need to do research on the company, just to make sure that you give them the impression that you are interested in the company. Researching the company can mean, going through to their websites, going through to their LinkedIn website or LinkedIn page to, see who works there. The about page is always very helpful. It gives you a good idea of what the company is about. And I guess that's now, I'd say, the first step in you assessing whether this company actually aligns with your career goals. Researching the company can also mean going through to their reviews pages. Nowadays, there's Glassdoor, there's a whole lot of platforms where people review companies and they're able to tell you about their experiences and how they experienced working there. And I guess for you to make an informed decision, you need to have this kind of feedback so that you know what you're getting yourself into at the end of the day. Researching the company is very important. Like I said, I cannot stress how important this is, because it just shows that you are interested in the opportunity. Another form of research that I thought is worth mentioning, that I always mention to my candidates that I deal with, is, obviously at this point you would have gotten a meeting request, and you would have probably seen or known, or somewhere in the invite it would mention who you're going to be meeting with. So my suggestion is to go through to those people's LinkedIn pages and to get to understand their career progression, and kind of like I feel like it breaks the ice, right? Like knowing who you're going to be meeting with, rather than just blindly walking into an interview and you don't know what this person does or what that person does. Get a clear idea of the types of people that you're going to be meeting with. And generally, this information is available on LinkedIn for you to use. And another thing also with that, what I like is, I know LinkedIn always notifies the person once you've viewed their profile, and I feel that that already sets you apart from the next person who doesn't do that, because now that person will get notified that you have viewed their profile, and therefore they know that, oh, he is or she is actually doing research on the company before the interview, which always helps. Now, once you've obviously gotten a clear picture of the company and what they're all about and the people that are going to be interviewing you, you need to start asking questions. You need to start preparing for questions. Now, questions to ask. I mean, people, I don't know, I've always gotten the sense in the industry that candidates are scared to ask questions. But I feel the industry has changed a lot. I mean, in as much as the company is interviewing you, you are also interviewing them, because you want to know what you're getting yourself into. There is no limit to how many questions you can ask in an interview. Whatever it is that is important to you, you need to make sure that you address it in that interview. If you are dealing with an agent, there's only so much I can tell you about the company. I don't work there, for example, and so you need to make sure that you ask the questions, get the feedback from the people that are working there, and that'll give you a better idea of what this company is all about. So prepare questions that you can ask. And then also what I always suggest, which again sets you apart from the next person, is when asking questions to always make reference to what you've seen on the website. Like, for example, I saw that you guys donate clothing to charities, every year as part of your CSI, so tell me a bit about that. So already you are showing them, just by asking the question and making reference to what you've seen, you are showing them that you have done your research, and that you are very interested in the opportunity and what they do as an organization. That will definitely set you apart from the next candidate. Now you've obviously you've now done your research, you've prepared your questions according to what is important to you. You can ask questions around culture, teams, projects, ways of works, and what is basically expected of you, and stuff like that. Like, there's just no limit. There's only 2 questions that I mentioned previously, I think in one of the videos that I did before, questions that I always suggest never to ask, because I have seen this backfire so many times in the industry. Questions about salary, if that question doesn't come up, don't bring it up, because again, like, we're still trying to figure if there is alignment. We're not there yet. We're not quite there yet. And you don't want to also leave the impression that this is about the money. You want to get to learn as much as possible about the opportunity and the company, and then make sure that, and then once you are happy with that part, then we can talk about the money. And it goes both ways. Once the company is also interested in you and they want to take it further, then we can start having those types of conversations. Believe you me, I'm hoping that you are working with a recruiter that has an idea as well of, how to handle the salary question. Do watch my video on salary, because I think it gives an idea of our thinking process when we send you out there. But if you are dealing directly with the company, if the question doesn't come up, don't bring it up. It'll come in due time. As soon as you have, I'd say, figured out that there is alignment and there is possibilities of going ahead in the process. So that's the one question that I always say never to bring up if it doesn't come up. And then also I've had, so this has not happened a lot, but I have in the past, or there was actually just one client that I worked with who made a comment about a candidate asking about working hours. All right. And I think how they interpreted the question was that they felt the person was a time watcher. So it just gave the client the impression that the person was a time watcher, and they were not too focused, or their questions were not so much about, what the position was about or what they bring into the table, but rather, when can I come, when can I go home, So the salary and the time questions, or the working hours questions, I always say, that will all be in your employment contract, should you be successful in the particular position. And then also, Another important thing is to make sure that you go through your CV, all right, the CV that the client has. Okay, many times it happens that the CV that you have is different to the one that the client has, and or there's missing gaps or missing dates or whatever's on the CV. Just make sure that you've got or rather you figure out what the client could require clarity on. Whenever there are missing dates on the CV, or there is a gap in between jobs, people always, or companies always want to know what happened during that time. Were you not working? Were you freelancing? Or were you taking a break? Or were you just looking for work and you were not coming right? People just, I don't know, generally just have an interest to know, what happened during that period. So just make sure that you know your CV very well, that you're able to explain your way through it, and you're able to give clarity to the company should the question come up. And just make sure that you have it all covered before you meet with the client. Another important thing to do when you go for interviews is to thoroughly go through the job spec. Okay, and then from the job spec, highlight anything that you need clarity on, because again, it shows that you are really keen to hear more about this position. And even if it means printing it out and bringing it to the interview and highlighting and being like, hey, I saw here you mentioned this or that, let's talk about that. It just makes you different from the next person. Highlight things that you are good at that are stated on the job description. Highlight the things that maybe you have not been exposed to, and maybe try to figure out if that's going to be a deal breaker, but also give them an impression on that you will put in the work in order to get up to speed in no time in that particular area that maybe you might not have been exposed to, that is mentioned on the job spec. Prepare questions around that. Check again, like I said, if it's a deal breaker, and if it is a deal breaker, ask questions along the lines of, what can I do in order to make it better? Can I do a course quickly while we are preparing offers and stuff like that? Again, that shows initiative. It shows that you are keen. It shows that you are willing to learn. So it highlights you in a completely positive light, that you want to achieve by the end of that meeting. And then also make sure that your interviews are a productive time, where you get to learn about the company. It's no longer about just going into a meeting and then you walk out and you're like, oh, I don't know, just make it a productive time where you actually get to learn. If you are going to the interview face to face, or you're going to meet them face to face at their premises, have a look around and see what types of people are working here, and do they generally look happy, and I don't know, if there is an opportunity given, do maybe chat to one or two people, if you can. Sometimes companies are open to that because they want you to get an idea of the type of environment that they are operating in, and but that'll give you a nice idea as to whether you see yourself working there. And then also make sure that your interviews are painting a clear picture of who you are, that there aren't any question marks, or I've had interviews like that where I've spoken to candidates, and at the end of the chat it's like, this person didn't give me much. It's like I had to probe for things, which can be sometimes frustrating. You have to make it an open conversation where you are discussing about your career and where you're going and where you're coming from, so that by the end of it, there are just no question marks. There's no room for more questions. Make sure you cover everything. Make sure it's a productive time. It goes both ways. As much as you are learning about the company also wants to learn about you, and therefore you need to be open in terms of the experiences you've had in the industry and how that is going to contribute to what they're looking for as a company. And then also I'd say, by the time you leave the interview, you need to know that you need to make sure that all your questions are answered, and you also need to make sure that, or if this is the right opportunity for you. So if they were to call you back tomorrow, are you happy to proceed, or is it a matter of, it's not going to work for me? And that is also okay. So it shows again that you know what you want out of your career. And I think candidates are thinking along those lines more and more lately. It's not just about, you know what, I'm getting the job, yay, and then you go for it. You know, don't go for anything. Have a plan in terms of your career and where you want your career to go. And as you interview and chat to people in the industry, make sure that that aligns with where your goals are headed. The reason why I stress on this point is because that's going to determine how long you stay at the company. You know, I speak a lot about, you know, tenure and durability, and ultimately which leads to companies investing in you as an individual. Now, if you get into an environment where you feel, you know, it's just for now, you know, while I'm trying to figure myself out or while I wait for the next opportunity, don't do that, guys. That messes up your resume, but also it decreases the chances of companies in the future investing in you if your profile is not stable. So that's what I'm saying. You need to know what you're getting yourself into before you even sign that offer, so that, because that's going to determine, you know, how long you're going to stay. If growth is important to you and you figure out that, oh, actually at this company I'm able to grow, I'm able to climb a ladder, I'm able to do this and that, already in your mind you are settling with the fact that, you know, this is a place where you want to be for the next 5 to 10 years, which is very important to maintain on your profile. And then also, let me just see. Yeah, and I think another point, again, like I mentioned this a lot, alignment. It can be values, it can be the role, the growth, the teams, the projects, the ways of works, whatever it is that is important to you. Make sure you cover that with this potential employer. Because there's no better place, or there's nowhere else to get that information than, you know, when you are actually in an interview with that person. And then lastly, I wanted to just talk about outfit, preparing your outfit. All right, obviously we live in a post-COVID, post-lockdown world where most interviews have become online, but there are still companies here and there that want you to pop into their offices and come and talk to them face to face. But for online, I always say, I mean, it doesn't matter what you wear at the bottom, but just make sure that you're wearing something formal at the top, okay? Avoid crop tops that are revealing or whatever, that are showing things that, you know, you don't want people to be commenting about. So rather you want to be presentable, you know, dress a step up from what you would normally wear, but also make it professional. If you are meeting face to face, you don't necessarily have to wear a tie or like a full suit or anything like that, but but avoid things that are revealing, or mini skirts that are too short, that are just going to be distracting, you know, to the conversation. So you don't want the attention to deviate from who you are as a person. And I always find whenever a person dresses up in a way that it is too revealing, sometimes I feel like, you know, that it distracts the people from who you are as an engineer or whatever, you know. I feel like people start focusing more on that versus actually the skill and what you are bringing to the table. So it's just stuff to keep in mind as you engage with people. Just be professional, you know, at the end of the day. Avoid anything that's just gonna deviate from the topic or what we're trying to achieve. That's all I wanted to say for today. I hope this is helpful to you. Please do reach out, info@outglobalplacements.com, if you have any questions or anything that you need clarity on. I always say I am available for a quick chat if you want to talk to me or you need help preparing for an interview. It is a free service that we offer at Our Global Placements, as we want to see you succeed and excel in your interviews. Yeah, so do message me, do like, subscribe, share the content with your network or anyone that you know that is currently in the job market. Maybe this is, you know, this is what they are looking for in order to finally land that job. Yeah, so that's it for today, guys. Like I always say, do reach out on info@outglobalplacements.com if you've got any questions or if you need help preparing for an interview. It's a service that we offer for free at Our Global Placements. And yeah, so I'm always available, you know, should you require that kind of help. And yeah, do reach out. Do share, do like, do subscribe. This content, especially with people that you know are active in the market for a long time and they just have not come right. Maybe there is something they can take from this content that'll basically set them apart and help them land that next job. Yeah, thank you so much once again for watching, and you must have a lovely day further. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.